Hey y'all, my name's Hamilton and this is my 2020 Q3 highlights. Every month I sit down and reflect on what I goaled on doing and what it is I actually accomplished in order to better understand what I'm doing well and what I'm not doing well and become better at actually achieving those goals. So today I'll be going over the highlights of my 2020 Q3 along with what I goaled on for this half, where I should be at this point, and then where I actually got to. I have a full reflection up on my blog that you can read with more information and links to everything that I've talked about here in this video, or I will talk about in this video. So I'll have a link to that below. But in the meantime, let's go over the highlights. I split my life into a few different buckets that I call focuses in an effort to organize the kind of different things that I value doing and that I usually goal on. My first focus is projects. This is something that contains all the things that I'm building, whether that's a business or whether that's an art, whether that's a program, kind of stuff like that. I've subdivided my project focus into 3 buckets in order to better organize the different goals that I had for this half. The first is to build a better world. In this bucket, I've selected 3 causes that I think the world really needs help in solving. The first is elections, the second is climate change, and the third is social justice. You'll notice that I've raised $0 in any of these buckets, and that's because all of my projects are running in the red currently. If they were to actually make money, then I would have raised money for these causes, but they haven't, so there's no money there. What I did do is generate reach and awareness for some of these causes, and we can see that in elections I raised $5,900 through the building of Dump 45. Also happens to be the clothing collection that I released this half. For climate change, I haven't yet released a project, so we'll see that all of these impact metrics are zeros. And then for social justice, I raised $6,970 reach for this cause through the creation and sharing of statutes, which is a reflection on the methods and forms by which we symbolize power here in the US, generated for the most part with artificial intelligence. My second bucket was to make art. Art is something that I've been increasingly into, especially as it pertains to or relates to technology. The first goal I had was to release a clothing collection. I accomplished that by releasing Dump 45, as I mentioned earlier. The second thing I did or wanted to do was to get into several art exhibitions. I currently have one queued up for my Anna project, which is a series of pieces of art generated through artificial intelligence. The third is to get to 10,000 followers on hamy.art. I am definitely falling behind on this one, so if you want to help, give me a follow. My next goal in the art bucket was to do 2 collabs. I'm currently in progress on one, and I have another one that is to be announced. That one that's in progress is my collab with Griffin, Hanekamp, and Steven Space on their new track, Moving Through Time. Go give that a listen, give the cover art some likes, and then stay tuned for a video accompaniment to come in the next month. The last bucket for projects is to build a business. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, but as you can see, I've made 0 progress on this. I'm hoping to jump in on this a little bit more in Q4. Now moving on to my self-focus, this is really where I goal on and work on things that I think improve the foundation of what I do. Things like, health, things like learning. All of these things are efforts that don't necessarily have an external output, but that provide an intrinsic improvement to a lot of different areas. The 2 biggest updates here actually aren't even included in my self goals, but they are just happenings that happened. The first is that I have shared how I'll be voting in the 2020 US presidential election. For this election, I'll be voting for the Biden-Harris platform. I based this on some research that I did comparing their platform with the Trump platform, and made my decision for the most part based on the issues of climate change, social justice, foreign policy, and healthcare. The second big update that is not included in my goals is that I moved in with my partner, Meghna. This has had some significant effects on my other goals, but just wasn't a goal that I ever had included. Now onto my goals that I actually goaled on for this half. The first is citizenship. This is just random stuff that is kind of necessary to just be an active citizen in the United States. I decided to just goal on this because I knew I was going to be voting this quarter, and along the way renewed my New York City license, and then I'm in the process of getting my library card and my passport. The next bucket of goals I had was to learn. I've found that a lot of my learning has been very ad hoc based on just whims that I've been into in the past few halves, but I wanted to take a little bit more of a focused and strategic approach to what I was learning and how I was learning it. So I created a few areas / domains that I really wanted to learn more about, and started learning those. In the end, I only got to 1 out of 6 of them, but I'm planning on continuing this learning experience through the half. Some other goals that I had were to hit a 60% savings rate. I was able to hit this, achieving an average of 60.5%, in large part due to moving in with my partner. The second one was to do a 10% reduction in my carbon footprint. Due to the changes I made this quarter, in particular due to my earth tax, I've calculated that I've theoretically neutralized 100% of that carbon footprint. I don't think this is necessarily true in the realistic sense, as I still use resources and therefore output carbon, but theoretically that's where we are. I think that went well over my 10% goal. The last goal here is something that I've actually deprioritized, but I really wanted to be able to do a 30-second handstand, and you can see that I've achieved a 0-second handstand so far. My next focus is adventures. Typically I'll have something like relatively exotic here, go to another country, or do some crazy experience or something like that. But after last half, where we were basically stuck inside for several months, I really just wanted to get out and explore. So we were able to explore out in the city quite a lot, go around to other places outside of New York City that were within driving distance, and that's been really fun. Hopefully we'll get back to some of these, exotic goals and stuff, but right now I'm just really grateful that we were even able to step outside and enjoy the weather. And those are the highlights from my 2020 Q3. Thanks for bearing with my ramble as I go through all of the updates in my life. If you want to know more, if you want to find out more about any of these things that I touched on, including seeing more examples of them, how they were built, my thought processes in building them, then go head over to my official reflection on my blog at blog.hamy.xyz and check that out. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and please, please, please go and vote. This is so, so important. There are so many resources for doing this. If you really can't find one, just go to vote.org. I cannot stress this enough. Please just do that. And that's it. Thanks again for watching. Throw me a like, throw me a follow, throw me a sub. Whatever it is you can do really, really helps me out. That's it. Hamy.out.